In this video, I'm going to review the LG E8 OLED TV and talk about the new Technicolor firmware and HDR luminance fluctuation issue. Hello everyone, my name is Vincent Teo and I'm a TV reviewer and professional calibrator. This beautiful display beside me is the LG E8, which is the step-up model from the C8, featuring the South Korean brand's current top-end Alpha 9 video processor. Two screen sizes are available, namely this 65-inch LG OLED65E8 as well as a smaller 55-inch OLED55E8. Picture quality between the E8 and the C8 should be very similar because they share the same OLED panel and Alpha 9 video processor. What differentiates the E8 from the C8 are the design and the speakers. Having reviewed hundreds of TVs, I'm not one to be easily impressed by yet another OLED TV whose panel is usually wafer thin anyway. But I have to say, the styling of the LG E8 is absolutely breathtaking. The OLED screen is affixed onto a sheet of glass that extends all the way to the bottom, almost touching the surface on which you'll place the television. A sloped tabletop stand carrying the now familiar LG OLED inscription is embedded in the bottom center of the glass sheet, making it appear as if the OLED panel is floating in air all by itself without needing any support. It's a very effective optical illusion, similar to how if you trim the bush, the snake in the middle would look bigger. Obviously, because the glass is transparent, you'll see wires dangling down the TV, but at least LG has been considerate enough to provide a cable management holder, so you'll only see one thick bunch of cables hanging behind the television. The speaker bar on the LG OLED65E8 is very discreet, running the entire width of the TV just below the OLED screen, so from normal viewing distance, it actually looks just like a taller bottom bezel. We think the audio has better soundstage and stereo separation than the C8, since the E8's speakers are front-firing, whereas the C8's are down-firing and then directed forward by the curved stand. However, last year's E7 still sounds better than the E8. You just can't cheat physics. When you shrink the speaker size, you have less space to move the air. Normally, this is where I thank the sponsor of this video before I go on to talk about picture quality. But it has come to my attention that another website is using similar wording to promote the same sponsor, so I have to shake things up a bit. So the sponsor for this video is Technicolor. Their phone number is 01302 365 760, and if you're thinking about buying a new TV, call them. They'll probably be able to price match any other UK store and do it with a smile. Help them, help me, help you. Your support is very much appreciated. Right, in terms of picture quality, the LG E8 is very similar to the C8 I reviewed a few months ago, so I'm just going to go through some known strengths and weaknesses of LG's 2018 OLED TVs with Alpha 9 processor. They all use 2018 WRGB OLED panels supplied by LG Display, and so benefit from better uniformity, exhibiting no color tinting or dirty screen effect on brighter full-field gray slides. Even on full-field near black slides, there's only very faint vertical banding visible in a dimly lit room, which is unavoidable on current consumer OLED TVs. However, we think the 2018 OLED panels have improved to such an extent that these vertical streaks will not appear distracting in real-life content, even in difficult low-light scenes such as from the 4K Blu-ray of Arrival. Color accuracy is excellent, especially after calibration, with an average delta error below 1 across all 140 color patches measured in this challenging color checker SG chart, so video content will look natural and realistic, particularly when it comes to memory colors like skin tones. The LG E8 supports Dolby Vision using a TV LED profile, which is brighter and more impactful than the player LED profile implemented on Sony OLEDs. And of course, at the time I filmed this video in October 2018, Dolby Vision is widely accepted as the most advanced form of HDR format, where dynamic metadata can be provided on a scene-by-scene or even frame-by-frame basis. For playing games, input lag is the lowest among OLED TVs across all manufacturers this year, measuring 21 milliseconds in both 1080p SDR and 4K HDR game modes. And new on LG's 2018 OLEDs, Dynamic tone mapping is now available in HDR game mode to prevent 4000 nit or even 10,000 nit games from looking too dim. The LG E8 doesn't really have any major weakness. Any weakness is just in relation to rival OLEDs from other TV brands. If you want to engage True Motion to reduce motion blur, let's say for watching sports, LG's frame interpolation algorithm will introduce more glitches and artifacts compared with Panasonic's and especially Sony's interpolation. LG's 2018 upscaling and gradation handling from lower quality sources is generally on par with Panasonic's, but Sony's is still the best, and the poorer the content, the more visible the difference. And these days, I can't get away with an OLED TV review without mentioning burn-in. Yes, the risk of burn-in is always going to be present on a self-immersive display such as OLED, but from my experience reviewing and calibrating hundreds of OLED TVs, as well as discussing with other technically minded reviewers and professional calibrators, you won't get permanent screen burn on your OLED television if you 1. Vary the content you watch, and 2. Make sure to put your television into standby rather than switch it off from the mains, so that the inbuilt compensation cycles can run to clear up any temporary image retention before permanent screen burn sets in. With the picture quality strengths and weaknesses of the LG E8 out of the way, I want to explain some changes brought about by firmware 04.10.05. I was fortunate enough to receive our LG OLED65E8PLA review sample with an older firmware of 03.00.63, so I could run my entire battery of tests on the TV, making sure I didn't miss anything, and then update the TV to the new firmware and repeat all my tests again. Very time consuming and utterly stupid, but sleep is overrated anyway. With firmware 04.10.05, the key changes are in the Technicolor picture mode. For SDR, the default OLED light value has been lowered from 80 in firmware 03.00.63 to 25 in firmware 04.10.05, so that peak white is realigned to 100 nits as per Technicolor's request. The default color temperature setting in both Technicolor SDR and HDR modes has also been changed from warm 2 to warm 1 to better match Technicolor's in-house white point of X0.300, Y0.327, although this introduced a visible cyan cast if measured against a white point that has been perceptually matched to a Sony X300 reference broadcast monitor that's calibrated to JUT modified white point. Next, I want to tackle the topic of luminance fluctuations in HDR mode. This has been called a dimming issue by C8 and E8 owners, but I think the term luminance fluctuation is more accurate since there's not only dimming but also brightening involved. One word of warning: if you haven't noticed these luminance fluctuations in HDR mode on your 2018 LG OLED television, maybe you'd like to stop watching this video now. Ignorance is bliss, and this is one of those things that once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like how some of you put up near black slides on your brand new OLED TV just to check that your panel is okay, but spot some vertical bending, and then you start seeing it in real life content when perhaps you wouldn't have noticed the bending at all if you hadn't put up the near black slides in the first place. Or, to give you another example, when you buy a Toyota Prius in pearl white finish, cause that's the color of choice of millennials in it, you start noticing every single white Toyota Prius on the road, in the car park. Even Jerome from the gym is driving one. Call it heightened awareness, call it frequency illusion, call it blue car syndrome. Once you see what I'm going to show you in this video, you'll start looking for it on your 2018 LG OLED. So I'm offering you one last chance to bail out. Don't worry, no one will call you a pussy. And just like the paid subscription service that asks you 3 times in a row, are you sure you want to cancel? Are you sure you want to cancel? Are you sure you want to cancel? I'm going to film myself balancing a gimbal. And if you still want to see what this HDR luminance fluctuation is all about, you sadistic feel free to skip forward to the timecode printed in the video. Right. From my analysis, the HDR luminance fluctuation issue has been present at least since firmware 03.00.63 and is unchanged in firmware 04.10.05. The issue is that in HDR mode, both HDR10 and Dolby Vision, when there's a significant change in APL or average picture level, there's a delay in the brightness level catching up with the scene change. For example, in this segment from Season 1 Episode 1 of the Grand Tour on Amazon Prime Video in UHD HDR, as the camera cuts back and forth between the presenters, there's a slight lag in the scene brightening up in the studio shots where the APL is low, and a slight delay in the scene dimming down when the background is white with higher APL. The same phenomenon can be observed in Season 1 Episode 6 of The Punisher in Dolby Vision on Netflix. There's a delay in the scene brightening up or dimming down in response to the overall luminance or APL. To replicate this problem using my own test patterns, I used a Muridio Fresco 6G signal generator to send a HDR10 full field white to the LG E8. And once I switched to a smaller windowed pattern, you can see the window brightening up after a short delay. To clarify, this issue is not present on LG's 2017 OLEDs, not present on LG B8, and not present on the Panasonic FZ series. I'm using this scene from Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children to demonstrate. This suggests that the Luminance instability is caused by how LG's latest Alpha 9 chipset is processing the HDR videos. A few other interesting things I found. The luminance fluctuation almost never happens in CinemaScope movies, even in the scene from Sully containing cuts from a bright background to a lower APL shot. The top and bottom letterbox bars probably lowered the overall APL enough for the luminance fluctuations not to trigger. Also, disabling dynamic tone mapping may make the luminance fluctuations less obvious, since there may be less drastic differences in APL changes. We have been made aware that some owners are switching on the HDR module setting in the service menu to defeat the luminance fluctuations. But according to our testing, this screws up SDR color accuracy because the color luminances are entirely off, while also lowering peak brightness by around 100 nits in HDR mode. If you are really bothered by the HDR luminance fluctuations, turning on HDR module in the service menu is a temporary workaround, but I am obligated to warn you that by entering the service menu, you risk voiding your warranty and even breaking your TV if you don't know what you're doing. The good news is, LG is aware of this HDR luminance fluctuation issue and is working on a permanent solution. Among all the TV brands on the market today, LG Electronics has been the most proactive in responding to user feedback and releasing necessary firmware updates to rectify problems. I remember the addition of HDR game mode and even HLG HDR support on 2016 OLEDs, as well as fixing the elevated blacks in Dolby Vision content on 2017 models. Please be patient. LG is working on a fix to sort out the HDR luminance instability, and to be fair, the brightness fluctuations are probably subtle enough to go unnoticed by many viewers unless they were specifically looking for it, which unfortunately is what will happen after I publish this video, hence my repeated warnings earlier about skipping this section. Anyway, what's done is done now, and at the time I filmed this video in October 2018, this LG 65E8 is available to buy at a street price of £3,000, which is only £200 more expensive than the 65-inch C8. In our opinion, this is a very reasonable price premium for the E8's picture-on-glass design and front-firing speakers. Despite the HDR luminance fluctuation issue, which I'm confident will be addressed by LG in a future firmware update, the E8 earns our highly recommended award thanks to excellent post-calibration color accuracy, low input lag with dynamic tone mapping for immersive HDR gaming, as well as the most impactful Dolby Vision presentation on the market today. If you found this video useful, please click the like button and subscribe to the HDTV Test YouTube channel for more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.